The men's rowing team has a week off before hosting Boston University, MIT, and Northeastern on Devil's Lake on May 2nd and May 3rd. Head coach Chris Clark is here. We'll have an opening statement, then take questions.
We've had, 4 2Ks, in other words, 4 shots down the race course in the past 8 days. And it has showed us a lot. We really have a 3-part season these first 2 weeks. The next month, that's the racing coming up at Devil's Lake, and then at Eastern Sprints. That's Harvard, Yale, the Eastern teams of the conference that we're part of. And then the final bit is our national championships. I don't like to acknowledge that nature has anything to do with anything as far as either explanations or reasons for success or failure. But it's funny, since I've been here, this is my 21st year that I started as an assistant. This is the 3 years in a row that it's been in April that the lake has broken, and sometimes that matters and sometimes it doesn't. It seems to have mattered lately, so that hasn't helped. So there's quite a bit of winnowing and development that goes on, and the minute you get on the water, you see what I suppose in other sports you might see it in the weight room, and then you wonder what's going to happen on the field. We see it on the land, and then we make assumptions about how it's going to go on the water. And you're right about 50% of the time, and the other 50% of the time you're dead wrong. So we need a little more time to have my idea and reality actually meet. Not quite there yet.
From what you've seen, can you get to where you want to get to?
We really have a tall team, which is a positive thing. I realize that our top 5 guys are taller than the basketball team on average. 6'11", 6'10", 6'9", and 3 or 4 guys 6'8". But I notice there's a lot of good guys in the NBA that are 6'1", so it doesn't always. And there was a guy at UC Irvine, wasn't he like 7'6"? But it was really funny. I didn't see them in the Final Four, so it's not. It's not all about the height. So I was real excited there for a while. I thought, we'll have a good IM basketball team. But I don't know. It's a good question. The one thing I do like to point out, and you see this in other sports, I'm always using those analogies, is how much you can improve in just a few years. Frank Kaminsky being a perfect example. But as a sophomore, I didn't follow it that closely, but I think he was kind of an afterthought. And in 2 years, he goes to a first-round draft choice player. And this is somebody who'd played thousands of basketball games. My own children are in basketball. The 6th grader will play 130 or 40 games this year in 6th grade. A lot of them are little games, but they're games. So even somebody that had done what he had done, he still had all that room for development. Jimmy Butler, who plays for the Bulls, he was an afterthought. He wasn't picked by anybody. He played junior college, and now look at him. At a younger age, it's even bigger. So literally in a month or two, somebody that you think has some potential can rise up. Rowing is at its base. I like to call it. I just made this up today. I thought it was relatively clever. You think of it as tugging on the oar handle. It's a tug of war. It's a tug of ore, is what it is. That's what it comes down to. It seriously does. And this is an interesting team. It's if I was more uptight about it, I'd be doing this, but I'm not. This team is the best on the rowing machine, the erg, which is a real important thing. And most people know what I'm talking about because they see them at health clubs at least. And they row in the summer and they compete. This group has won all sorts of gold medals in difficult events. They've got the size, they've got the enthusiasm, they got the character. But they're lacking the understanding of what a race is. I remember when I was rowing, I don't like to use that example very often because even though I was a decent rower, I wasn't as good as a lot of other people. I literally was scared not to be ahead. I was scared. Fear always drives you as an athlete to some extent. You're afraid not to win, or afraid of not training hard enough. I was afraid. Thus far, it seems that a lot of our guys are just paralyzed by the idea of being in the lead. In rowing, you have to be in the lead. The race plan, which is relatively complicated sometimes for 2,000 meters, it's get your bow ahead and stay ahead. That's essentially it at any level, and we haven't been able to do that yet. I don't like to fly much, and it's gotten worse over the years. And Like, I'm not the guy, remember they always ask about the exit seat, right? Are you prepared? Well, yeah, if you don't mind me curled up in a ball because there was a little bit of turbulence. Yeah, I'm not prepared. You know, asking where my mom is. So I'm not that guy, and you can't be that way if you need the will to win. Absolute. That's the most important thing to you in your life at that time. And I think a lot of guys have the potential for it, but we haven't been able to find that one person. The just yesterday, the assistant just randomly asked a few guys, so who's the guy you most want to row with? And whereas it's a team sport, it's still an individual sport. A few years ago, we had an alpha like that, one guy, and for 2 years he made us ultra competitive. One guy was only 6'2", 180 pounds, but he was a beast in every way. And everybody was afraid of him, not that he would beat them up, but they wanted to please him, and he refused ever to be anywhere but in the lead. We had about 8 or 9 races over those years that we either qualified for something or won by a second, over a mile and a quarter, because that's the way it was. And we don't really have that now. And he asked these guys on the team, and no one could name anybody. That's not a good thing. One guy did email this morning at 10:15, so it took him 12 hours to figure it out, but that's better than nothing. But even on any team we have, there's always, if not one, there's a few that you would name. And until that happens, we won't have the success at the highest. But it's coming. It's close. It's driving me nuts in the meantime. Our freshmen are really good. That's where the 6'11" kid resides. 6'11", 212. So, yeah, I wish I was 212, but I used to be. His name is Sebastian Amberger, and he's good. In most programs, he would have been pulled up to the 1 varsity, but I like the esprit de corps and what's happening at that level. I'll leave him there. And those guys, when they either see a flag drop or hear something that rhymes with row, it could be go or row, they're gone, which is always good. Get to the finish line for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is it's really, really uncomfortable rowing hard. It's really miserable, so you want to be done as fast as you can. So, is Andy back there? Is he going to ask me anything?
I don't know. Paralyzed it.
I'll ask you something. You talked a little bit about Devil's Lake, but that's the next home event. It's kind of a big deal because, one, you assume everything will go off like it's supposed to. I know you weren't here this weekend, but things got a little crazy for the racing on Lake Mendota. So,
You say it's crazy. That's just normal practice for us. But no, it wasn't. It's usually not that bad. It's very protected. There's not enough, even though it can be windy there. It's in a bowl if you've been there, and it can howl, but the waves don't build up too much. And when we first approached the state park people in 2011 or 12, I didn't understand how state parks work. I just thought, well, it's a pristine place. It's the most popular state park. Maybe they don't want anything there except people hiking around and boating. I didn't realize, though, that they want the parks to have a lot of uses, and also as a revenue producer. So Steve Schmelzer, who's the superintendent there, has been great. He's a Madison guy, went to West High School, so he's 100% supportive. And it is a championship venue. There's a place in Lucerne, Switzerland. It's the most famous rowing coast. Any Swiss person knows it. It's called the Rotsee, and it's a bigger version of the Rotsee. Rotsee. It's an incredible place. They can howl there, and you can row. And it's very fair. That's another problem with rowing courses. So invariably, if you win something and it's even slightly unfair, it's because you got the good lane. I've heard that many times. That's it today? I mean, normally I speak more. Paul, you don't really count. You work here. Come on. We need some.
hopefully, you'll answer my question anyway. The boat race. We haven't talked about that much in here, but you guys have kind of established a tradition. The boat race, Oxford and Cambridge, over in
Right.
Great Britain. I know we had a couple guys race this year. Can you talk a little bit about that? I think there's been 6 or 7 people come from here and go to those schools, which just in itself, those are pretty good schools.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for those guys. You know, a lot of kids are. My oldest kid is only in 8th grade, so I haven't got to the point of worrying too much about where they're going to go to college. But a lot of kids are really seduced by the concept of a prestigious private school, and for a lot of them, we just say these are Oxford and Cambridge are the two schools that these schools are based on. So why not just go to the original? And then if they do well enough academically, they can go row at one of those places. And it's an incredible tradition. It's been around. It's the oldest, intercollegiate rowing or competition of any kind, 1829. So I found out a little fact. By the way, all the blazers we wear, the very first blazer was from Oxford, period. And it was sportswear, like the kind of stuff that we wear now to work out. A blazer was a workout item. It was dark blue, invented by Oxford. So another old little fact. But the guys like it. It's a very, obviously, an academic place. At that point, you're often, as an undergrad, you're taking all sorts of classes that you don't really have much of an interest in, but you have to do them to graduate or get through your major. And there you get to choose it. And there's a lot of attention paid at that regard. There's millions of people that watch it, and it's not quite a day by day, but you get a little bit of the idea of being on a football or basketball team as far as interest in what you're doing. So it's a great opportunity, and we expect people to keep doing that. I was at Oxford because you have a dark blue blazer. Cambridge it's green. It's not blue, but they call it light blue. So just that alone, I would roll Oxford just because you have a normal-looking blazer. Just look it up online, like Cambridge blazer. You'll see what I mean. But they're both great places, and our guys have been going to Cambridge lately. So, and they've been losing lately, so I don't think they're happy about that. So,
Anything else for Coach? Thanks, Chris.
thanks, Brian.